Hi, my name is Sheleta. I am 46 years old and I am postmenopausal. And this is my menopause journey. Prior to menopause, what was my life like? I mean, overall, I was just very active in church, very lively. Um, I guess I'm gonna talk to the areas a little sensitive, but this is the area where I guess real change kind of happened. Um, so had a very high sex drive before menopause, and as well as I guess I would say my moods were more stable, happy. Can easily just get along. I mean, I easily got along with just about everybody. Things didn't bother me that much, and I don't know. I was just very, very active. Like I said, church was my whole life. Let me just be real. That was all I did. Probably postmenopause. Along with work, and yeah, I didn't have any children. I was married, maybe about a few years beforehand. But yeah, ah, I was focused. I was focused. I was clear. At that time, felt like I was clear in who I was and what I wanted to do. Um, at that particular time, my whole life was straight ministry, or at that particular time, like I said, right before menopause kicked in, it was supporting my husband as well with his business. And for the most part, that was everything. And I loved it. I didn't care about what anybody thought, what they said during that period. I would say maybe about 5, 8 years span beforehand. That was my locked and loaded life. And I liked being confident and sure. Nothing. Nothing. I mean, so growing up, I don't know if I correlated it, connected it with menopause, but ever since I was younger, my mom would always talk about hot flashes. That was the thing. Everybody having hot flashes. And I remember being a kid and even my own self, I'd be like, whoo, I'm having a hot flash. Um, Hindsight, I wish I never said that. But yes, every time I got hot, I would say hot flashes. But, you know, menopause wasn't really talked about that much. It was just something that, women ended up having, and it was kind of like mm, something you didn't want. It was just frowned upon, right? It was like something you're gonna dread once you get to that particular stage of life. Ooh, the thing about it is, I really don't know if she knew. So I can say I wish that she was able to connect mood swings, hot flashes, diet, you know, to menopause, sex drive, mental state, all of that, how it can truly shift your life. But I think, and what I believe is because we as human beings, we as women already have so much stuff going on that it's hard sometimes to even separate and differentiate how menopause can be impacting what's actually going on, right? And so we're just going day by day, not realizing that, hey, this is an actual hormonal imbalance where your hormones affect just about every part of who we are. And so, yeah, I know. I'm thinking if she knew and was able to communicate it, it probably would have decreased a lot of trauma in my life. I laugh about it, but it's true. Yeah. in my brain is like, I don't recall them saying like, oh wow, this is menopause. Oh wow, this is the pause, right? Um, it's kind of like what's the word? Not intuitive, but assumed to a degree because you hear snippets throughout, but it was never stated this is menopause. It was just her, other women, older women, around the table. Because it's funny, I just remember sitting at like one of my Aunt Bert's house, who was my mom's best friend, and they were talking at the table, and I just remember them all, just talking about how hot they were, and I had to probably have been maybe about 7, 6, somewhere around there. No, I didn't even know I was entering that stage of life because I entered it extremely early. So I don't think it was on anyone's radar, which that was kind of, it was hurtful, but so my mother grew up and she was at the tail end of the silent years, so she was before baby boomers, and which definitely it was stayed in the home, was in the home, very private, extremely private. And it wasn't until maybe like a couple of years into menopause, and I was like, Mom, did you stop your period early? Like, I had no idea of anything, you know? Um, so yeah. Um, would have changed things. I, I probably, ooh, I guess communication, being able to communicate to my spouse at that time, right? Being aware of how I was feeling and not questioning whether something was just wrong with me, right? I was having struggles getting pregnant. And so I went to get information in regards to IVF. And they did a whole bunch of blood work. And I would say a few years later, looking back at the blood work and the indicators on it, my body at 31 was transitioning into menopause. But then I had my child at 32. So it was like happening at the same time. And so when I had my child at 32, um, my body, I say for 2 years, I had the best menstrual cycle I ever had in my entire life. Um, however, after having a child, which we talk about not postmenopausal, I'll say the baby blues and different things like that. So all of that connected with my body started transitioning around at 34, and I actually felt when my body flipped right into menopause. And so if I had known, I would have been able to be a little bit more educated, even with talking to doctors, a little bit more in tune with my body, right? And then making um, necessary adjustments with how I just cared for myself. I know exactly the moment. I didn't know it was menopause per se, but I know the moment when something changed in my body, like drastically. Um, so like I said, I was 34, and we was at a Thanksgiving event. Me, my husband at that time, and my daughter, and we was there. The day was fine. It was good outside. Weather was nice, and all of a sudden, I was went to get some food, and I just felt this yuck feeling just come over me. And it was literally like I wouldn't say a switch was turned on. I guess I'll say a switch was turned off. And I just felt sick. And for whatever reason, I just knew within me, like, something changed, something happened. And it was from there that I began to start going to the doctors and different things. Actually, I was a little upset because so I dealt with endometriosis as well. And so, and when I first found out about that, I knew I was having struggles getting pregnant. I couldn't get pregnant. I had fibroids removed, cysts, et cetera, et cetera. But then I ended up getting pregnant, as I stated. And then a couple of years later, he wanted to go back in and check. And I don't know, in the back of my head, it's like, why did I let him do that? Because it wasn't not too long after he just went back in and checked. This episode happened. So in my mind, I was like, he did something to my body. Like going back in, it was like you disturbed something. Because I said those 2 years was the best menstrual cycle I ever had in all my life. So I started my cycle at 9. So I don't know if that affects how early someone may start menopause too, because that's an early age as well. So, like I said, I started going to doctors trying to find out, just what's going on, because my cycle was off. Like I said, I'm feeling like just sick, like weird, etc. And so with the different hormonal checks, they diagnosed me with premature ovarian failure, which really didn't know totally what that was at that time. I don't even know if they said like perimenopause at that time. But looking into that, it was like, okay, it's connected to it. And the weird thing about that was, I think that word failure, postman, ovarian failure is like, what's wrong with me? And so, and then my husband at that time, he is like, well, if this ain't normal, we got to find out what's wrong. Right. So then it puts something in your mind like something's wrong with you. And so, yeah. So it wasn't exactly like the word menopause at that particular doctor. But then so I started seeing different doctors because, they want to put you on synthetic birth control. At that time, I didn't want to take birth control. I didn't want to take synthetics. So then another doctor then stated this standpoint, postmenopausal perimenopause. So, yeah. So from 34 to 37. So they say, well, as you know, you have to have a full year of no period before you actually hit menopause. And so August 2017 was when my year started. Yeah. No, still really didn't know what it was. So for me, it was the struggle of the symptoms, and the symptom that I guess bothered me the most, because the weird part is I still did not connect brain fog or mood swings to menopause or any of that mental stuff. It was just the hot flashes. I was having hot flashes probably maybe 2 an hour. Like my hot flashes was off the chain. And I'll be at work talking to people and just sweating. And so my thing was just, how do I stop this? How do I stop the flashes? I would say the hardest symptoms was the hot flashes and then the brain fog. Just being stuck in thought. In midpoint, it's there, and then it's like, where is it at? But like I said, those flashes, the night sweats, yeah. The one that surprised me the most that I did not know was connected to it, and that is vaginal dryness, because um that hurts. And then too, I guess even the desire for sex. I didn't know that the lack of the desire of it was connected to it for whatever reason. And so hindsight looking back, it's like, man, if I had known, you know. So I actually did do bioidentical hormone treatment multiple times. I'm actually am on them again now. But I believe they truly did help. I also did people say try the coash teas, the dandelion, um, different type of supplements with hormonal balance. Watch your caffeine, your chocolates, different things like that. So I would come and go with that because the body's craves. So I wasn't always consistent. But I would say what worked for me was the bioidentical hormone treatment. But it's sad that it's not in the regular medical, because normally they want to give, synthetics. Right before I go there, I just want to say no knock on anyone taking synthetics. I'm just saying for me in my body what I wanted or didn't. In regards to the physicians, yeah, so I remember the first one. The first question in all of this is always, do you still want to have children? Well, for me, well, that's because I heard that from more than one physician, and my thing really wasn't about, do I want to have children? I just want to find out what's wrong with me, right? Because it was like I was broken. And how do we fix this? So the first one, he wanted to give me birth control, didn't want to do birth control. Um, and then I, because for me, because he just wanted to push medicine, it felt like I had to go to another physician. So then I went to another doctor. I started seeking out, trying to find a doctor that was more on a natural avenue. And so I probably went through maybe 3 or 4 until I found one that actually did like the measuring of my hormones and everything and providing something that actually supported. So I did do a little bit of bouncing around. Yeah. I believe yes, it did. Um, like I said, the mood swings, the irritability, having a little one at a time and my spouse as well, the interactions with them was tough, right? And hindsight, you know, looking back, because I had a conversation, he's with my ex now, and he even made it a statement once he got educated that he wished he understood menopause more and that it probably would have helped in our marriage beforehand. So that was that was really huge. That was huge. That was huge. That was big. But neither one of us knew, right? So maybe they just slowed down. You know how beforehand you could, maybe if you gain some pounds, you can get them off, quicker. Uh, it didn't. It didn't. It doesn't move as fast as it used to. For a minute, like I said, just feeling like something's just wrong with you, And I think because our our bodies, who we are, is like so dynamic. We have so much that's going on, so many different things we're trying to filter through. Um, During a period of time, no, I didn't like me because I didn't know me. Right? I really didn't. So I couldn't attribute it per se to this. It was just like something's wrong, not just off. And I think when we use certain words towards ourselves, it affects how we see ourselves on a daily basis. Because even to say something's off versus something's being wrong, just those words make a difference in the shift in the mindset and how you engage with, your day or challenges of your day. I started back doing bioidentical hormone treatments because I know that when I was on them, which those are HRTs as well, hormone replacement therapy, I knew I felt better, right? So I had stopped for a while because I'm the same thing. It ain't cheap, depending on, whatever somebody's budget is. But I realized like my body it felt like it was reverting back, right? Um, Flashes at night, tiredness, energy, like I said, the fall, all of that. I would probably say, because I'm still going through it, but I do think, now that I have better understanding. So, and I would say, oh, no, maybe about some months ago. So I would say the hardest part, my daughter's 14, maybe 12 years. Yeah, maybe 10 years in there. And I think just you go in waves. You go in waves. You want to hear something? Embarrassment is a choice, but I would say it's a little embarrassing and hindsight. A little crazy. So, it affected my career because, like I said, the tiredness, the brain fog, to the not having the energy or just getting stuck in certain tasks, right? But the embarrassing funny part is one day I was in an interview and I don't know what was going on this day, but I literally ended up talking about my menopausal issues during the interview. I don't know how I got to that. But yeah, yeah. You talk about imbalance at that moment. I was off. I was off. So no, I did not get the job. Uh, but yeah, yeah. It affected the confidence, right? It affects your confidence. Are you going to be able? Because you never know when symptom, moods, etc. is going to come in. Yeah, because it slowed down. You don't have that same speed as you used to, right? So, yeah, you could be in the mist in thought, starting a task, and you get lost in it. So the performance did experience a decline, right? your mood, your interactions, maybe not wanting to be bothered. However, the role requires it. Not really. I mean, that's not probably not no one that where it really mattered. You have your work friends, coworker friends that you may talk little things about, but most of the time you're just joking about the biggest one, which is flashes. But other than that, no, you're not really going into details. And sad to say, in our society and men, and because of the stigma that's on it, they don't want to hear about menopause. That's just an excuse, right? Something wrong with versus a natural part of life. So I learned a little bit about trying to remember it's talking about like cycles that women go through versus men, and the best times, like if our schedules could shift and change, right? Where that more so goes with a menstrual cycle. But I'm thinking about even with menopause, because well, for me, I still have everything. So it wasn't I have a hysterectomy and then it's put in my body, reverted. Um, so you still have the hormonal cycle that you go through, right? And so it would have been good to have been able to say pause, at certain times, or adjust workloads where I'm optimum, because, I'm in that cycle where full energy, clear, etc. And then when your cycle kind of, is on that overload, or I guess it's calmed down, where then I was able to step back. But um work wise, offhand, I would say no. Out of pocket costs in regards to you can't go all doctor. You're dealing more with functional medicine, alternative medicine. Yeah, that was costly. That was costly because too. So I was doing that, and I was getting like the IV cocktails as well, because put nutrients back in your body and different things like that. At that particular time, like my bone density was still good, but how, because it affects the nutrients in your body too, right? Your vitamins in your body, everything. What I was told was like it puts you at risk of heart disease earlier, cardiovascular disease, and different things like that. So having all of that in my mind and in my brain, right? So then now you want to you want to pay for those supplements extra to try to make sure that, your health is together. So I did end up dishing out more money on supplemental health avenues. It affected our communication, our interaction throughout. Um, like I said, if we probably had known, we would have been able to maybe understand and communicate differently. That, or maybe we would have handled situations differently. That would have then later on put us in a different place. So I don't think it caused the divorce, like a direct correlation. However, throughout the marriage, if we had a better understanding, we may would have had a even stronger foundation here. So then when we ran into this struggle, we would have felt more so like we're on the same team than opposing. You get what I'm saying? So we would have been able to be stronger here. So when conflict came here, we would have been able to stand better. But because we didn't, it was already weak. I don't know if neither one of us was tracking the mental and the mood part of it. I think we more so always just focus on the physical body part that we see, right? More so than that, because, you know, like I said, the sexual part, I never thought I would get to the place where I'd be like, I ain't want to have sex, right? But to literally know, like, you don't even want to be touched, like, and not have a desire at all that's there. And then want to be cuddled or held, but you know, in 2 minutes, because you touching, your body's gonna burst into flames, right? So knowing, like, and I know everyone's different and development, etc., but they also, I've heard certain science studies of women, just the touch, right? Being touched and what it does to regulate. Um, and to want it and not be able to get it because you're gonna burst into flames. And so that even create unknowingly a separation because you don't even realize it's happening. So I don't know. That's just interesting looking back. I don't know if she really noticed. I mean, children know stuff, but to them it just becomes normal because you're their parent and that's all they know, right? Until you get older and then things starts adjusting, but by then they've already developed, right? So uh, I would just say more so just that huge irritability part in there. And I mean, this is women. I know we're talking about menopause, but I know you want to be candid, truth, transparency as well. So finding out later on, dealing with a little bit of anxiety in their mix, right? So you have that mixed with menopausal irritability and that hitting and not recognizing and knowing what's going on. A part that hurts me is there was times and moments where like she wanted to be affectionate and I didn't want to be touched because it just felt like somebody was just pulling on me, right? And just weighing me down. And so, and I not knowing which one it is, but still it all connects to hormones, right? Imbalance in the body. Um, yeah, that part hurts. I guess just giving it language, even if she didn't understand it fully there, but we know, well, words are seeds, right? Containers. So she would at least had it. And so then as she got older, then when it's discussed, she would have been able to connect, right? And so not having that, yeah. Like I said snippets, but now you ask this question, homegirl gotta step it up, right? So yeah, gotta step it up because sometimes we just get caught up, and then when we feel good, we like, hey. But yeah, to discuss, yeah, what got us here and what's been a part of it. So yeah, I'm gonna step it up. I'm 46 now. Um, in February, I started HRT, bioidentical hormone um, treatment. So I've been doing that, and it's vaginally versus on the skin, which then they say is better because then it bypass, I guess, your different organs or different things, I guess how it processes in the body. So I did that because I got tired of the fog, the low energy, and the night sweats were starting to come back heavily, my flashes. So I said I needed to do something. And so I started that, and I'm feeling better. Um, Sexual drive, dryness stuff have shifted as well, has gotten better. Um, but like I stated, and because I started early, there's always the concern with heart stuff, bone, etc. So I was just recently diagnosed with osteopenia, which is where some of your it's a little bone loss. So it's not osteoporosis. I guess could be the stage beforehand, depending on the actions that you take in between. So that just means now I take calcium on a daily basis, vitamin D on a regular basis. If thyroid support, I gotta take as well. So I have been more intentional about my physical health, my physical movement. So that part has changed. So that's the cost. It's come back, but it's a part of life, right? So those are the adjustments, and then you know hormones with breast tissue, different things like that, because it talks about estrogen. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. But I do feel better. I don't have as many swings, hot flash swings, even mood swings, beginning to be clearer, with that. But then it's a whole life package, right? So it's working on your pulse, menopause, mental health, everything, giving time to love self. And that's what I've been doing, and showing myself grace when I do feel something, right? Or something's off. I now don't look at it as something's wrong. It's just, what do I need in this moment? So that the journey is different for everybody, and show myself grace in the midst. Uh, get educated. Don't just take what's given. They give you this spoon, but go find out where the supply is, right? Where did that come from, and what other information is out there? And start making adjustments early, like health overall, right? Healthy living and what that looks like. We feel like we got time, but what we have is the moments that we're in. And so, um, yeah, I just wish I honed in more. This too shall pass, but you just got to give it time. And that passing uh, may look different. And there'll be ups and downs throughout it, but you're going to be okay. Nothing's wrong with you. That's the thing. Nothing is wrong with you. Think about all the women that has ever lived, right? And yes, they may all experience it differently, but it's your journey, and it makes you a part of you. Just show yourself grace and get educated and make the adjustments as you're able to make the adjustments. Physicians, dang. I know y'all are taught in general because you have to, but just remember each person is an individual. Um, listen to their specific story, what their needs and desires are. Educate yourself as well, that there may be just more than maybe one answer. Um, Look at the wholeness of the person, right? The wholeness of, in regards to how menopause affects every area of the body and not just reproduction, because that's what I felt like was thrown at me in the beginning. It's more than reproduction. It's it's family, it's connection, it's day-to-day life, and running into that, then to employers realizing that we all have mothers. There's other women that are in our lives, and that this is a cycle of life. It's a part of life, and that there's strength in menopause, right? Because you got to think that's freaking resilient. And that's overcoming all that you're able to go through. And if you can kind of like win a self battle, and man, employer, you got a dynamic employee sitting in front of you. It's all about changing perspective and getting educated. It might be taboo, but it's true. There's hope. There's always hope. Um, like I said beforehand, show yourself grace, love yourself through the journey. Um, because that's what I felt like I've learned and came to the place of out of my story, right? That I wasn't crazy. You're not crazy. All right. Don't believe the lies. Hormones affect. Oh my goodness. Just research hormones. You can do basic research. um, but yeah, but just know that you're worth going through the journey and that you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Yeah.